All right, how's it going? Today I've got a guest with me, Jonathan Cheong. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on this. Wanted to chat with you for a while now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much for coming on and even wanting to come on. I appreciate that. It's
Yeah.
very exciting to have you here. I've seen some of your work, but thanks very much for coming.
Yeah. No worries. Thank you for waking up in the morning.
Well, yes. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for appreciating that. Yeah, most people
Yeah.
wake up in the morning. It's pretty normal for most people, but yeah, it's not that normal for me. Certainly not this early, even though
Right.
most people, it's not very early. This is normal. But the reason, I'll start there. The reason uh, Jonathan has managed to get me out of bed is because you're in Singapore. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in Singapore right now, so we have a
Yeah.
7 hours difference to London timing. Yeah.
There you go. And Jonathan, you are. I'll try the list. Actor,
Yeah. Yeah.
writer,
You can
producer,
say that. Yeah.
choreographer,
Yes.
and now director as well.
Yes. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, right. That's quite the
You,
list. Did I miss anything out?
you did not. It's all good. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yep.
And you make films in Singapore.
Yep.
So
That's right.
let's start at the very beginning because I'd like to probably do more than one of these with you if you don't mind. So I want
Of
to start at
course.
the very beginning because I want to introduce you to the audience for anybody who doesn't know you. But like I said, if people are on socials and stuff and they're into martial arts cinema, they probably
Yep.
are aware of your work. But if they're not, they're not. But I
Yep.
certainly was. I certainly knew who you was. I'd seen one of your films, Deadlock, at a screening of the Magnificent Butcher here in
Yep.
London. Not only was I aware of you from social medias, I'd also seen one of your films as well.
Right.
So congratulations on that. That one won lots of awards, but I don't really want to go there yet. That's we're too
Yeah.
early days. I'd like to
Yeah.
start at the very beginning. So
Mm.
before you become a filmmaker, you don't just get up out of bed and start making films, surely, right? You must have
Yeah.
done other stuff before. So what was your career, work, lifestyle like before making films?
Actually, uh, I wasn't really doing much before films. So I started acting and making my own films when I was 18 years old. So I was still in school. Right. So I'm 27 now. I finished my so in Singapore they call it secondary school education. That was between 13 to 17 years old.
Okay.
So I only started filmmaking in my tertiary education. So that's I'm not sure how you guys would call it in the UK, but in Singapore it's where like you take up different courses like engineering, whatever. So that's like we call it tertiary education. So that was when I was that was in 2015. So
Right.
that was when I was 18. And then I was actually in events management as a student. So nothing to do with filming, nothing to do with the media. But at that point in time, so the backstory is that I really wanted to do acting when I was a child. Most actors will tell you they don't know if they want to do it. They didn't expect themselves to do it. But somehow I already knew that I wanted to be an actor when I was a kid growing up, because watching movies and all this is it's sort of like an escape from reality for me. So I guess that thing has always been in my mind, and throughout my school life growing up, I've always attended all these like stage performance, talking show competition and stuff. So performing has always been somehow my self expression, if it makes sense to you. But
Yeah,
only
so you're not nervous about doing that, about putting yourself in
no,
front of people
no,
and performing. Yeah. Well,
no,
that's
yeah,
that's good to recognize that early on,
yeah,
and to know, because as you say, a lot of it is interesting stuff already, because a lot of kids do not
yeah,
know what they want to do, and they get asked by their parents because their parents want to know what they're doing, and the answer is understandably, well, I don't know,
yeah,
because you're
yeah,
so young, you haven't got a clue what you want to do,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I mean, for me, even in school, I still didn't know. So even when school had ended and I was sitting there, by the way, I don't even remember really what the stuff was called at school when I was younger. But they
yeah,
change it all. So my first
right,
year, second year, they ain't called that anymore. They're called year 12, year this, and I have no clue what they're
right,
talking about. But I know that
right,
after school finishes, you can choose to do something called stay on and do
right,
sixth form and do other things or whatever. But of course, I just wanted out of school, and
yeah,
I got asked what I wanted to do, not just by my parents, but not that often during school, but towards the end of school, when I was basically ready to walk out the door, they had
yeah,
somebody come in, like a career officer, and say, "What would you like to do? Maybe we can help." And I thought, this is a bit late, because, but even so, maybe it's the right time, because I'm ready to not be at school anymore, and
yeah.
I had no clue what to say apart from one thing, which was maybe I could be or would like to be a stuntman in Hong
Oh,
Kong, right? But of course, their response to that was pretty, they
yeah,
had no expression on the face. They went, well, maybe we could try something else, but has it got any other ideas? So it
yeah,
wasn't, something they could really help with, but they were okay. They said, maybe there's a school here we can send you to do this sort of
yeah,
stuff. But really, I just wanted out of the interview, I wanted to go home and continue to watch the Kung Fu films, which is what I did. But
right,
no one, but for you, you knew. You see, that's what I'm saying. There's my example. I didn't really know what I wanted to do,
yeah,
but you had an idea, an inkling already, so young.
yeah, yeah. And I think I would think that I'm blessed by the universe or the higher power that somehow I already knew that that was what I wanted to do. But as a kid, right, like you can't really quantify what you're trying to do. Like
Hmm.
all I could quantify was whatever I watch on TV, whatever I watch in the movies. I would just imitate them. So I would just imitate whatever I saw, and then the things were just stuck in my mind and stuff like that. And I'll be like, wow, like being in a world like that is so liberating. So, but then I can't really quantify that's what I want to do as an adult. But I just know that that's what keeps me alive as a kid. So like
Sure.
watching like action movies and stuff, which we will touch on later, which was one of my thing that keeps me pumping and things like that. So I think that kind of led to me growing up and slowly like eventually like quantifying that, hey, maybe this is what I want to do. And then I kind of make it come true in 2016, which is when I started my own production company and started to produce and act in my own films. I think that's how it all started.
Well, you see, now you say that's how it all started, but that's a
Yeah,
pretty big jump from thinking I'd like to do what I see on the screens to starting your own production company.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think it's also a combination of like I'm not sure if you've been to Singapore, and I'm not sure if
I
the people
haven't.
watching this. So Singapore, we are a very conservative Asian country. I mean, typical Asian country, right? So Singapore has always been very centered on education. Like the typical Asian country, is like education. Be a lawyer, be a doctor, be an engineer. So growing up in society, at least for my generation, we are encouraged to just go get our degrees, go get our master degrees, and then just have a good life, kind of thing. Side note, arts in Singapore is changing now, but arts in Singapore is not a respected career here, actually.
Right.
So I think it's because of my stubbornness and me saying that, why can't I do this? So it's kind of like my defiance against the society and the industry. So I think it's coupled with passion, it's defiance, it's everything that comes together that made me realize that, what, maybe I should just start my production company and just do what I want instead of waiting for an opportunity to fall on my lap.
Hmm.
So
And
that
that
kind of
wasn't.
caused,
What experience did you have in doing that? I mean, you said you did the event stuff before that. Was what gave you the confidence to do it? Not just the defiance, but most people would
yeah.
say, "Oh, I'm not experienced enough. I'm not going to be able to start my own production company. How do I start a production company?" Did you do it with a friend? Did you have the support of your parents? The back in there.
No, so I do it all alone. No support of any friends. So how it actually started was, so once again, I'm not sure about how much of the audience is watching this understands. So in tertiary education in Singapore, we essentially go, okay. So from primary school to secondary school, Singaporean kids, we will have to like wear uniforms and stuff. But once we hit the tertiary educations, we kind of like wear our own clothes to school, if it makes sense to you, kind of thing.
Yep.
And then at that point in time is where people will major in different courses, like mine is events management, some will do culinary, that's where we do different things. So it's like an institutional school with different schools, right?
Yeah.
So at that point in time, every kid was pursuing what they want to do. Like we will have like a very musical talented kid, we will have someone who wants to just be an accountant. So that's when I realized that, what, I want to be an actor. Maybe it's time for me to revisit my childhood passion. So I actually went for a movie audition with this particular director in Singapore. He's Singapore's biggest comedy director, and also essentially biggest movie director. Long story short, I went for his audition, holding like a high expectation as an 18-year-old. Didn't get the role, obviously. So after I get rejected for the role, because I'm zero, right? Zero in a sense where I have no connection to the industry. I didn't know how to start. I got rejected. I felt like my world of entering the industry, it's kind of like locked. I didn't know how to start. Like there was
Right.
no, I didn't know whether to go to a theater school. I mean, my parents wasn't supporting of me, so I was in this like a paradox, if it makes sense. And then that's when I realized that, what? How about I just start my own production company, and then I just put myself inside as the main actor, and then no one can say no to me ever again.
Yeah.
So it's
You,
kind of
you
essentially,
employ yourself, right?
yes, right. It's
Yeah.
kind of like giving yourself the opportunity to act. So without any thinking, because I'm a very stubborn character when I was young, I still am to some extent. I just tell myself what can go wrong, right? What Nothing can go wrong. So I just went to register my production company, and then I straight away told myself, so action is the least touched genre in Singapore. We can talk about that later again. But I
Sure.
just told myself, I want to be like the heroes I see on screen. So my hero is Donnie Yen. I liked him since I was 10. 9 years old, sorry. Since I was 9 years old, I was like, I want to be like him. I want to be Singapore's first action star. So another thing to note, Singapore has not have a first action film in cinema in Singapore history. So we don't
Well.
have any action martial art films, right? Compared to our regional neighbors like Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, all these, they already have their own action films. Singapore hasn't
Mm,
had it. So I was like, I'm gonna be the first one. So
right.
I started my production. So it's a lot of things that come together. I think it's a situation where it makes me more like I want to be the first one. I like this, my passion. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So after which, when I started my production company, I got 20 over friends. I think about 20 over friends, and then like I get them to help me. I beg for favors, and it took me 1 year to produce my first action film. So this was zero experience, $0. I kind of took my pocket money to go and rent a camera. We went to the library to borrow books on how to do filming. So it's literally like from rugs to riches kind of thing story. So it's then only I think you have watched my first action film. So then that's where it's kind of interesting when I look back because that's my first start. And then after which things snowball after that. So that's how I got my whole entire beginning. So there's no support from family. My family was against it actually. It's not even not support, but they were completely against it.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's pretty much my whole start. So it's a YOLO start if they call it that way. Like yeah,
Well, look, this is important messages to put out to people,
yeah,
that when you have barriers in your way, you have obstacles in your way, and you want something, that there are
yeah,
ways to achieve it. The way you
yeah,
did it was very inspiring. You just set it up yourself.
mm,
You were very, you could recognize the situation you were in, not just the lack of support and the fact that you didn't feel like you could do it. You also recognize that you're in this sort of young fledgling market where you may be able to make an impact because there's not
yeah,
many people doing what you're doing. So there was a lot
yeah,
of, for a young guy, there was a lot of stuff here that you were recognizing, that you thought,
yeah,
look, maybe I could do this. Now you could have looked upon that and gone, well, there's a reason no one's doing this. And your parents will be doing that and going, yeah, but this isn't a recognized career. So there's reasons people aren't doing this. So there will be
yeah,
people there, adults, experienced people that you respect, telling you this is not a good idea, right?
yeah,
And this is not defiance out of disrespect. This is out of passion and love for what you want to do because of what you've seen on the screen. And that is very important, that you found your way. And I love it. It's very, very, very inspiring that you did your own thing, started your own production company, and just
yeah,
started making films. Just went, well, I'll just do it. And
yeah,
and and that's it. It's from small acorns is the saying, you know. That's what it's called. From small acorns, then it grows.
yeah,
And the fact that you did that is very, very inspiring for people to hear. So
yeah,
people say these things often about, oh, if you want to go out there and do something, just go and do it. You know, I'm living proof of it. You hear people say it all the time on the
yeah,
microphone after fights or whatever. You hear it all the time, but
yeah,
you don't really get to hear the true backstory of where
yeah,
did it come from. So this is brilliant. You're still a young guy, and
yeah.
this is fantastic. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Glad to share it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's normal for you because it's just what you did. But you
yeah,
see, even when you talk about it, you'd already said, "Oh yeah, I did that, and I started a production company." But there was a lot more to that story
yeah,
of
yes,
how you got there. So thank you for being open and sharing that, because it will be inspiring to people who are sitting there stuck, not being able to be creative, having these
yeah,
ideas in their heads, things they want to do, and they just don't know how to do it. The same way
yeah,
you felt at one point, you went, "Well, I just don't know what to do. I've been shut down," as you say.
yeah,
But you didn't. You found a way,
yeah.
and now I'm presuming that you don't regret that, and you're really
No,
happy.
yeah. I think like once again, I think I'm blessed to have such a. I will give credit to the universe and God. Like I'm blessed to know what I want. I think blessed to know what I want is one thing. Blessed to still be able to be that. You know, there's a lot of people who would say, "Oh, I want to do this at the age of 18," and then at 24, they're like, "Nah, this is not what I want." But I'm blessed to still be doing this. Like it's going to be my 10 year almost. I'm
Mm,
27 now. I'm doing fairly well in my career. I feel. I mean, I'm not some like big international kind of star, but I think to be able to live every single day to do what I love to do in a situation and a place like Singapore. I mean, we can't compare it to the UK because in the UK the film industry is huge. There's a lot of opportunities, but in Singapore, for those people who don't know, it's the film industry. It's so small. It's so small that people are actually leaving the country to go overseas for opportunities, and some never look back. But I'm a patriot, so whenever I watch like Malaysian action films, whenever I see Tony Jaa in Thailand, whenever I see Eco in Indonesia, whenever I see Jailbreak in Cambodia, and I was like, I like my idol Donnie Yen in Hong Kong. I'm like, can I be that person for Singapore? So that I think was that driving factor behind all these. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's not just purely
sure.
my own effort,
It,
but
it
you
definitely
gotta make
it
the step.
definitely
Yeah,
is a combination of a
yeah,
lot of things. But you must include yourself in that, because you can
yeah,
recognize these things and you can get these messages, as you say, from the universe. But
yeah,
most people either take no notice of them, or like you
Yep.
say, in years they let it slip and go, oh, I wish I did that. I wanted
Yeah.
to do that, but I never did do it. Or they get stuck in a job that they don't want
Yeah.
to do, and they're sitting
Yep.
there miserable, going, I wish I was doing what I wanted to do. You're not
Yep.
that. You're not that.
Yeah.
And that's you that
Yeah.
created. You
Mm.
made that happen. So you are a big part of this, because a lot of people have this, all these thoughts and feelings, but they don't.
Yeah.
They get stuck. And once they're in there, especially in this country, once you're in there, you're stuck in that job. That nine
Yeah.
to five grind is what we call it here. Once you're in there, you are
Yeah.
distracted, and it's very difficult to get out, because that's when you create the situation you're in, the lifestyle you're in, the bills, the this, that, and you have to keep up with that. And to jump out of that at that stage it's almost it's not impossible, but it's very difficult and scary for
Yeah.
people to do, because they are stuck. And you didn't
Yep.
allow yourself to be stuck when you were young. You knew, and you made it happen. So respect,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
worries. It might be normal for you, but it's not for a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, but I do agree with you about the part of like being able to see far, and I think you nailed it perfectly. It's because I knew that like 5 years down the road, do I want to regret my career? So I think there are if there is only regrets, but I don't really call them regrets. But if there are only regrets, is that because I started filming at a very early age, I'm forced to grow up, right? Like at the age of 19, I'm already working with people that are 40, 50 years old. So you're forced to grow up in the way you speak. You're forced to be matured, right? So that
Yeah.
kind of took me away from a lot of friends in school, if it makes sense. So I'm kind of like a loner in school.
Mm-hmm.
And they will be like, they will go to like institutional parties, college parties, they call it, this kind of stuff. But I was away from all of that. And at some
Yeah.
point, I was like, am I missing out the fun growing up? Then there were some people who would tell me, why are you missing out the fun, kind of thing. But now that I look back, I don't regret my decision, because these people are like living that life you're saying. And then they are wondering, what am I living life for? But I'm like, I was glad that the 18-year-old me made that decision. And then now I'm like, they call it reaping I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor, if that makes sense. So I think, yeah, I definitely do agree with what you say. So
Yeah, 100%. And this stuff that people say that they miss
yeah.
out on, whatever it is, the college lifestyle, the partying, and this, that, and the other, you couldn't. That's out of your control. You were on a very different wavelength, very different frequency to these people already at such a
Yeah.
young age. They were already doing this, and most of them are doing this, and not just you. There'll be other people as well, but you were going this way. So it's
Yeah.
not that you can't be friends. It's not that you don't want to be mates with them. That's not that. You can definitely do both things. But
Yeah.
for them, they'd go, "What's this guy doing?" But you can't help it. It was very natural for you to take
Mm.
a different path and associate, mix with different people that are on your same wavelength, that are going to help you to achieve what you want.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
Described
brilliant.
perfectly by you.
Oh, well, thanks very much. Well, no, yeah, but it came from you. You fed it
Yeah.
to me. I feel the energy, and
Yeah.
yeah, this you can't help this. This is, and it's the right thing to do, because most people at that young age, the immaturity will go, well, that's true. I am missing out on this, that, and the other. But for you, it wasn't missing out. For you, that was
A choice,
not what
I
you
would say.
want.
Yeah.
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 It's brilliant. And even though that meant that you might be a bit, for a small period of time, like you say, an outsider, a bit of a loner, and this, that, and the other, which can have an impact, a detrimental impact on your character, actually, on some people's character,
Yes.
because they will go and do something that most people look down upon, that they frown upon, that they don't support, and they can feel a little bit isolated. But lucky for you, you mixed with people, as you said,
Yeah.
some older people and some mature people, and people that were doing this kind of thing, that would have helped keep you,
Yeah.
sort of uplift your spirits, that you're doing
Yeah.
the right thing. And I guess you knew whenever you did something, it gave
Yeah.
you that little buzz inside that went, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. This
Yeah.
feels happy. And that's,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
at
Yes.
this
That's
age
right. That's right.
to recognize that is brilliant. Love it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Oh.
It's good for people to hear. So
Yeah.
Singapore, it's good. You've told us a little bit about Singapore. I'm quite interested though in your exposure to
Yeah.
action cinema, because I
Yeah.
haven't been to Singapore. I don't know what it's like in Singapore, but I do know what
Yeah.
it's like here. And although we had a lot of Asian films here,
Yeah.
There for I mean, I say for whatever reason, I guess there was a link between United Kingdom and Hong Kong. I'm certain that would have helped, but we had a lot of films to choose from in, not cinema, not highly respected. As a matter of fact, again, frowned upon watching these
Right.
rubbish films, especially back then we were watching dubbed films, but
Yeah.
subtitled films were also unheard of, if you like. People weren't
Yeah.
watching sub films in original languages, so we had everything dubbed. Now, I was happy with that. I was a kid. I was more than happy to watch dub films. That's what I grew up with. That's what I
Yeah.
love. As I grew up and matured and got more into these films, of course, I started watching them in their original language. But that had to come later when that stuff became available or the internet became available and you could get hold of things. But to start with, we had English dubbed films. But I have to say, in my opinion, now looking back, we were lucky because the video shops were full of them, not cinemas, nothing like that. But the video shops and that were full of these films if you wanted them.
Yeah.
So we had
Yeah.
lots. I don't know what it was like for you. Was there Asian films at the cinema? You say Singapore didn't have its own action cinema for you to watch. You say you're into Donnie Yen and stuff. Did they play these films at the cinema?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a young
So
guy. You didn't have video
so
shops.
they do, they do. So
Oh,
I
you
I,
did.
oh, I actually grew up. I grew up in the DVD era though, like that VCD
DVD
era.
era,
I
yeah.
born in 1997. So that was when because Singapore we are Asian country, right? So Hong Kong movies will always get distributed in our cinemas. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So yeah, so all these like the oldies. Okay, I'm not sure about the 90s before, but I'm talking about the 2000s onwards, right? All the Hong Kong movies like Hero, the Shanghai Nights, all these, right? All these will be shown in our cinemas for us to go and watch.
You got all the rubbish ones.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, usually Singapore only picks up all the blockbuster Asian movies. So
Right.
to be fair to say, we rarely get the shit ones, if it
Yeah.
makes sense to you. But
Yeah.
there's one common trait, which is not what I like, which is not the main topic, is that Singapore likes to distribute a lot of Hollywood movies. Like Western movies dominate like more than half of our cinema kind of thing. Then
Yeah.
kind of like the one third is the Hong Kong movies, which is mainly the Hong Kong movies and stuff. So that's pretty for me. Okay, for me especially because I love to watch kung fu action movies since I was a kid, right? I mean all these. I mean we both definitely share the same interest. But I
Mhm.
grew up because I grew up in the 2000s era, so that era was kind of dominated by Donnie Yen. I think that could be the reason why. But I was enjoying all these like martial art movies, action movies and stuff. I mean, I love to watch like the WWE, the Power Rangers and stuff. But like it's all
Yeah.
a mix of all these action stuff, pop
Of
culture things,
course.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that Singapore pretty much it's really we are fortunate to get all these like Hong Kong movies to be distributed in our cinemas to go and watch. And then like cinemas will always have this like discount for students, which we pay like half the price for a movie ticket. So there you see a lot of school kids going to watch. So that's when I will pop the cinema by myself in
Okay.
during school time to watch all these like action movies and shit. So that's
But
pretty
you
much.
see, this is interesting because you started off by saying that you
Mm,
wanted to perform acting, but
yes.
that wasn't necessarily martial arts or action.
No. No.
Okay.
It was
So
just
what?
acting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Just acting. So what happened? What did you see action wise? What did you
Yeah.
Was it just that you went into a cinema one day, well, after school, let's go and watch something, got my student discount, went in there and went, hang on a minute, this is brilliant. I mean, what happened?
I okay. So to be fair, so Singapore we have at that time, not now, okay, but that's a separate topic altogether. Singapore at the time we had very good TV dramas. So TV was the source of okay, watching a movie in cinema back then as a student is not common because it's for us it's expensive because of our pocket money, despite there's
Yeah.
discounts and stuff. So TV was our biggest source of entertainment, right? I can't really pinpoint when was it, but because when I started watching all these, I knew that I wanted to do acting. Right, I watch TV, I watch movies. I'm like, oh my god, it's a very lovely place. But if you're talking about specifically about action itself, I think it's kind of like a slow burn passion that seeped into me without me even realizing it. Because number one, I'm a very active person. I've always wanted to learn martial arts, but my parents never allowed me to learn martial arts. So I grew up without learning martial arts. I only started when I was 18 years old. I've always wanted to. I'm a very like movie kid. Like I will move around a lot. Like some will call me ADHD. Like I have this. Yeah. So I'm a very
Have
hyperactive person.
names for these things now so that they label it, but
Yeah.
and that's not. I'm not saying that's a negative thing or anything of the sort, but for you, it didn't matter. You just wanted to move around a lot. You could
Yeah.
have used that for track running, or I don't know,
Yes.
baseball, or you could have
Yes.
used it in another sport. You just had
Yes.
some energy that you wanted
Yes.
to use
Yeah.
physically, not necessarily mentally.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. It's
Yeah.
good.
So
Yeah,
like my mom will like stop me from watching WWE and stuff like that. Like when it's screened on TV, I'll go and watch it. It's like go back to your room kind of thing. So
yeah,
like that kind of make me more stubborn to like, why are you stopping me? No, I want to see more. So
right.
I
Yeah,
tend so I tend to watch like all these kind of stuff under my parents' radar, if it makes sense to you. So I think that under the radar thing. I'm not sure if it's gonna be the way, but if let's say like every parent in Singapore is like, oh, go and watch whatever you want to watch. I think I may not have that feeling, but it's because like when you as a kid, when you tend to do things secretly, you'll be like, oh, what's so interesting, and then when you watch it, you kind of feel like you're immersed in the world without you realizing it. But it's just you escaping a radar. Like when you, I'm not saying it is, but when you tend to do certain mischievous stuff as a kid, it tends to be more fun, even though that thing you're doing might not be as fun, but somehow when it's more mischievous and when it's more like sneaky, it becomes a lot more interesting. So I think that was how I
yeah.
was introduced to the world of action movies. It's like, ooh, what is this? Then I started watching, and then like, okay, for me, I got introduced to Donnie Yen in 2006. So that was when I was about 9 years old, 8 years old. So that was when I first watched Dragon Tiger Gate. Right, that
Okay,
was that.
wait a minute. What an intro,
Yeah,
right? What an intro. So it's funny because your parents were trying to steer you away from these things, and this is a
yeah,
very common thing that
yeah,
everybody knows, including they will know this. They have this is the thing, right? They have been kids before, they've been young before, they know what it's like, right? And we
yeah,
have to respect that and go, well, you've been me before, I haven't been you yet, right?
yeah.
These people know these parents. If you try and stop them from doing stuff,
They
they
will
will
do it
want
more.
to do it more. They would draw you would they will want to be drawn to it because you only had a little bit of experiences here and there. And as you say, you got lost in the world, you got lost in the characters. WWE is an interesting one for you to bring up because it's acting, performing at
Yeah.
one of the highest levels physically, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Physically and normal acting and everything. They act, they do stunts. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. A lot of kids like that. I used to like that stuff as well when I was young. Yeah, I still
Yeah.
respect it now. I don't watch it anymore, but I watched it as a
Yeah.
kid and I thought it was brilliant because, as you
Yeah.
say, you get immersed in it. So if then people try and stop you watching it, you go, yeah, but I found a little bit of happiness there. Going
Yeah.
and doing this crap studying that isn't interesting, that's not interesting. Like you say, this stuff that is deemed to be defiant,
Yeah.
right? But not naughty. You're not doing anything wrong. Is the thing that is exciting you, that is making
Yeah.
you want to see more. So of course
Yeah.
you're going to seek it out as much as possible.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's the whole thing. But I think also deep down, when I mentioned about I'm a very hyperactive person, I think it's like I just love martial art. I just love moving. I just love like kicking and stuff. Like even though I don't learn, but I just happen to like it. So whenever I see stuff like Power Rangers, I get out of my feet. Whenever I watch all these like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I might get on my feet. Cartoons, whatever, like superhero cartoons. I think it's just a mixture of a lot of these all come together. So it's not particularly like kung fu movies. I think that is just one of the many things that I was consuming as a kid growing up. It's just the idea of just action and just being a boy, growing up loving all these like all this action thing. It's a very,
Yeah,
yeah, it's like it's in our blood. I would say that it's
can't
in
help
all of
it.
them.
Yeah, you
Yeah, you
can't help
can't
it.
help it.
That's what it's there for. The
Yes,
people who make the stuff know this, right? They
yes,
they know what they're trying to appeal to, and
yes,
like you, me and my brother were constantly getting up off the sofa and trying it all out, and you didn't have to
yes,
be trained. We wasn't
yes,
trained. We weren't doing any martial
yes,
arts at that point, but we were
yes,
throwing the best kicks we've ever thrown, right? Because we were
yes.
young.
Yeah,
So it was
exactly.
actually all
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But you're lucky you have a brother. I don't have a brother. I have a sister. So I had to do like I started wrestling against my bolster, like a human sized bolster, and I started
yeah.
slamming it. That's the only thing I can do, like when I was young. But yeah, that's pretty much my growing up. Yeah, yeah. That's
Oh
pretty
no,
much
it's
it.
brilliant. It's brilliant. Okay, so I had to touch on that stuff, but yeah, thank you for that.
Yes,
So the first film, Dragon Tiger Gate. Now, funnily
yes,
enough, because of when you were born and the films you were saying, and I said that tongue in cheek, like you got all the crap. I know you got the big hitters, right? You got the
yeah,
big hitters, like you say. They only gave you the films that were popular, successful,
yeah,
blockbusters. But to me, that stuff, that 2000s, that hero and all that, because of what I was brought up on, genuinely for me, that is the crap. That's when the stuff started going downhill for
yeah,
me. Yeah, for
yes,
me. So, but I understand that you have. So I was thinking, well, what's going to be his first introduction to it? Because that stuff for me, if that was my first introduction, may not have done it for me, especially as it's
right,
so different from the stuff that
yes,
did attract me to it.
yes,
So yeah, but that's because to me it's gone downhill. But you said Dragon Tiger Gate. Now that to me was a modern Donnie, a bit
yeah,
more of a wiry film that I loved. That was a brilliant. I mean, that's a brilliant one. So I do understand why you got excited. You're saying you're watching wrestling, you're watching Power Rangers, and then you've got this brilliant comic book film with Donnie, who look, let's face it, don't he look brilliant in that? Just the
yes,
clothes, the hair,
yes,
brilliant. So I know why that one attracted you. The cover, the box, the characters, the fights. That's a brilliant one. Really
yeah.
exciting film. Yeah.
Just to clear a context, right? I get
Mm,
asked this question a lot of times whenever I get any interviews with anyone. They will always be, why not Jackie Chan or Jet Li? Why Donnie Yen, right? Okay, so actually, when I was exposed to all these movies, right? I mean, Rush Hour, the first Rush Hour and stuff. Like growing up, the idea of Jackie Chan is always like the comical entertainer. You know, it's like, wow, really nice. I enjoy watching it as a fan. You know, it always glues me to my seat, right? It's really amazing. I mean, he's still doing quite great stuff until like the early 2000s, right? We're not talking about his 80s. That's when he's legendary, right? His peak. But like when I was watching the Rush Hour stuff, I'm like, oh, it's really quite cool, quite interesting. Shanghai Nights is quite interesting. But I was watching it as a fan. Jet Li was, because he was always in these wuxia movies, right? So I don't know, is it just me, but I wasn't steeped into the what's that word called, like the wuxia old kung fu movies, because Jet
mm.
Li, he was playing all these like fearless, this character like Wang Fei Hong. He's playing all these characters, but that style of film wasn't really steep into me. I don't know why. Like I think it's just something I enjoyed it, but I won't be like, oh, like I would be like, okay,
Yeah.
like
It's the
I
same for
in
a lot
Chinese
of people. Yeah.
yeah, so they call it the costume. The costume dramas wasn't. The action is nice and all that. I watched Fearless as well, but when I was a child, I was like, oh, okay, it didn't hit me, right? But it was, I don't know why, somehow, right? Like when I watched Dragon Tiger Gate, but that was really my first time, right? That was my first movie that I got introduced to Donnie Yen. That was the very first time, if I could recall my how I was 9 years old self, was
Mm.
when I remember I was like, oh, can I do that too? That's the only film I watched and be like, can I be that as well? The rest of Jackie Chan movies and Jet Li movies is very audience experience. It's very like,
Mm.
oh, I love it. Okay, the movie is done. Life goes on. But Dragon Tiger Gate was the one where I'm like, I actually pondered, like, can I do that? I think that was that first click. I don't know why as well. I could be, and then
Yeah, I mean,
following that
because the
whole
stuff they're doing in that is pretty unbelievable. As in, it's
no,
very
but
difficult. It's actually not
no,
even okay. Obviously, it's achievable in the movie, but I'm just
yeah,
saying that some of the things in there, you'd go, "Well, I can't actually do that." But I
yeah,
suppose that's the whole point because you can because
yes,
they are doing it in the movie.
yes, but I think I mean the stuff that Jackie and Jet Li was doing is also not really achievable. But I don't know why there is no connection, if it makes sense. Particularly to me, there is no personal connection until when I saw Dragon Tiger Gate. That was
Mm,
when I'm like, okay, wow, like this somehow there's something about it. And then like when I was 10 years old or something, and then that's when I watched Flashpoint, and then that thing changed my life. I mean, watching Flashpoint as a
hmm
10-year-old boy,
mm.
it's like I was watching that under the radar, and then I was like, "Who this thing?" I think it stuck in my head for a good every single day in class in school. I wasn't like paying attention because that
Yeah.
stuff that they were doing is over the top. As an adult, it's still over the top, but imagine as a 10-year-old boy, I'm like, whoa. So that's when I started. I didn't beat anyone in school. That's when I really started to like imitate action and motion movements, trying to throw punches at walls. like as a
Yeah.
10-year-old kid. But that was, yeah, I think Dragon Nugget was a springboard. So I think that's when Donnie Yen became my man, if it
Yeah,
makes
well,
sense to you.
yeah, okay. Well, that's understandable because, and that's a good introduction because I was thinking, how in that era did you find the Donny that sort of sparked that? Because actually, he's been through some. Well, first off,
Yes.
Let's go with Jet Li for a minute. So for you, Fearless, you watched it, but it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So now for me, because I'd seen so many other Jet Li films before that, by the time I'd got to Fearless, I'd been through all sorts of stuff,
Yes.
like Dr. Y with the scriptures with no words, and just there was so many films in between that I didn't like, right, of
Yeah.
his. And so
Yeah.
when that one came out,
Yeah.
Fearless,
Yeah.
that was kind of a bit of a return to form because he was older and I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it. It's the same as Fist of Legend, that one,
Yeah.
and Fearless. When I saw those two films, I went, hang on a minute, he's brilliant again.
Yeah.
So for me, Fearless was a bit more of a benchmark. I saw it at the cinema. It got a normal release at the cinema. I saw it in the West End. I remember seeing it upstairs. I believe it was in the Trocadero Centre, which there's no cinema in there anymore. So we
Yeah.
actually got to see that at the cinema. So it actually got a general release. It was subtitled in its original language, and I was kind of blown away because although it had some CGI and stuff in it, it was a brilliant film. I like those old traditional films. I was brought up on those old traditional films first, before Police Story and stuff like that. It was all traditional kung fu to start with. The modern day stuff came later. So for me, when I saw Fearless, I went, bloody hell, brilliant. It's a return to form. I actually loved that film. But our experience is different, because what I had before that, before that was brilliant. Then what I had in between that and Fearless was like, oof, there's loads of wires and he's flying about and it's, it weren't so good. But then that came and I don't know. I'm not sure what he made after that. I can't think. But that one was it was a good return to form for me, as was Fist of Legend. That was when I went, now Jet Li, he can be brilliant,
Yeah.
But the
I think
connection thing depends on the era. Some people see, like a guy I spoke to recently, a guy called Stephen Ainge. I asked him what his first experience was, and it was Shanghai Noon.
Right.
And for me, that got you into Chan, but because I know what got me into Chan, right? We're talking Snake and Eagle Shadow, Dragon Lord, Young Master, Fearless Hyena, Police Story. That's what got me into Chan. So I get why, as you say, as a young boy, why I was like, oh wow, this is unbelievable. I've never seen people do stuff like this before. They are superheroes to me, real ones. So, but then to me later on, I liked Shanghai Noon. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a great film. I really enjoyed that film, but I was surprised that it just proved to me the different eras and what that guy can do, Jackie Chan, how far he can spread his feeling, because the guy still got the same vibe, the same energy from Jackie Chan. He still knew he was watching somebody and something special, even in that Hollywood film alongside Owen Wilson. He still knew this Chinese guy, though, because he was a youngster. This Chinese guy, though, there's something here. He knew that, and that's what sent him back to all the old films. So, this is the connection, but you need something. Yeah.
And you also need to also okay, I think I didn't bring up this point, but remember earlier I was mentioning that I always, okay, growing up I've always felt I'm an outsider for whatever purpose, but that's a different topic altogether, right? So when I was watching all these like Jackie Chan and Jet Li movies, right, because those, and I agree with you when you talk about the different eras, because the different eras does a certain thing to you. I feel that if I'm born in the 80s, right, my life would have been totally different. So I think that's why I always talk to people that it's about fate and the universe, right? And why I said so is because I'm someone that hates trend. Like, I don't like it when a lot of people like that thing. Now, what I mean by that is because at that point in time, as I was growing up in school, right, everyone was just talking about Jackie Chan. Everyone was just talking about Jet Li and stuff. Okay, Hong Kong movies is the pinnacle thing for Singaporeans. We essentially grew up besides
me too.
Yes, but what I mean by pinnacle is that I'm not really sure about the UK in a sense, because Asian
No, it's
cinema,
rare. It's a pinnacle
right.
for me, my brother, and a
Yeah.
small group of other people. But
In
yeah,
fact, I would say for the UK, the West fans, you guys are the more cult fans, right? But for a general typical Singaporean, it's what we grew up with. Like
right.
any Singaporean, what we grew up with, right? So with that itself, right, everyone knew who is Jackie Chan in Singapore. Everyone knew who is Jet Li. And then I'm this person who was like, oh, you like Jackie Chan, you like Jet Li. I prefer someone that is not so. So that's
Yeah.
when someone like a Donnie Yen came out. So that's when I realized that this guy is just as brilliant. Why is no one talking about him? So that's why when I was in primary school, in primary five they call it, right? That was I was about 11 years old when Ip Man came out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when Ip Man came out, that's the time where I the entire school that I was in. I'm not sure about other schools. Everyone was like, "Do you want to Wing Chun me?" Everyone was doing that. And then I was like, I already saw this guy before you guys even saw him. So that's when everyone started to talk about Donnie Yen in class. So people will make ridiculous comments like, "Oh, teacher, I can be a Donnie Yen, man." Like there will be this kind of comments that will come up. But before that, no one was talking about Donnie Yen. But I already knew. I was like, so I tend to like to, what's that word called? I tend to like to see things before they become legendary. Like I
Mm-hmm.
tend to like to see potential in things. Like if I don't know, I'm just someone that is like when I see certain stuff, I'm like, okay, this guy is gonna be a great person one day. I just don't know why I can see that. I don't know is that a gift or a curse, but just somehow I could tell by a certain
No,
trait that the person do.
this is very
Yeah,
it's in keeping with your material DNA, the way you are. This is exactly the same as when you decided, I'm not going to not do what I want. I'm going to start my own production company.
yeah,
I want to do this. It's the same. It's the same
yeah,
thing. It goes to show that it's part of your personality, part of your makeup, to shun that stuff. This stuff was already established for you, Jackie Chan. It was, everyone was talking about it, and for you, it's like, oh well, that's done then. That's done. Everyone knows that. Everyone loves that, right?
yeah,
You looking for the next thing, the cutting edge, the next thing, something that you could ride off of. It's like everyone's chatting about this, and so I understand that, and it does come back to the way you behaved over, having the barriers and obstacles in front of you. You want more out of things, right?
yeah,
So for you, you need something else, and that's what
yeah,
you were looking for. You was
yeah.
watching all this stuff, you were liking it, but you know what you are. You're not like a follower, a sheep.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm not.
right? That's not you. This is the thing, right? You might be, as you say, a loner, isolated, this, that, and the other, but it's because you have a different energy. You've just not found the right people. And young people in school often aren't the right people because they aren't who they are yet, including yourself. But maybe you matured a little bit faster for whatever reason, but you're not ready. I had no friends at school. You're not ready really to have those people because no one knows who they are. But you had a
Yeah,
much more clear thought of, well, this is what I'm into. I was the same. I was constantly in there talking about Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and this, that, and the other. And no one had a clue who these people were. Even
yeah,
Bruce Lee, they barely knew who he was. Jackie Chan, they'd never heard of the guy. They'd never heard of it. No, because, as you said, it's cultish where we are. It's a
yeah,
cult following, and
yeah,
people, it was frowned upon watching these Asian films. It's supposed to be all the blockbusters and, like you say, the Hollywood and this, that, and the other, all the famous films. It wasn't watching. Why are you watching these Chinese films?
yeah,
Especially as kids, the parents wonder, don't they? I mean, that my parents were wicked. They were lovely. They were supportive. They wasn't horrible, but it's still confusing. What's going on here. And so when you tell people in school and they're
yeah,
watching, I don't know, whoever they're watching, even if they're watching martial arts and they're watching Van Damme and you're watching Chinese bloke, it's a bit confusing for them. Even though we had Chinese, Vietnamese, we had all sorts in our school. If you
yeah,
spoke to them about it, they would think you're taking the mix. So if I went up to an Asian guy and said, listen, you must like Jackie Chan, help me out here. They'd sort of look at me as if to say, yeah, don't try that one. But I'd go, no, I really do like this guy, So it was a weird makeup. But for
yeah,
you, you were already here. No one is stopping you. And these
yeah,
people, they're trailing behind. So it's weird that you think, I understand why you're saying the isolation, the loner, and this, that, and the other, but it's by design. You can't help it. It's because they're not ready for you.
yeah,
The
yeah,
the, the people that are, it's not the right group, the right environment for you. And that is the same for a lot of people, especially in school. Many people feel alone and isolated in
Yeah.
school. Many people. You speak to lots
Yeah.
of people, they all feel the same. These people that were going on the trends and it man me was because they didn't want to feel alone and isolated. What is everyone talking about? What is the
Yeah.
latest playground trend? That's the latest thing. Let's talk about that. Even there would have been loads of those kids who didn't care for Donnie Yen, didn't even watch kung fu films, didn't even know what Wing Chun was, never heard of Yip Man. Maybe loads of them wouldn't have even seen that film, but everyone is going around saying it, so I'm doing it. I'm doing it. There'd be loads of
Yeah.
people who wouldn't even
Yeah.
seen the film. No, loads
Yeah.
of people,
I
right?
agree. I agree. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why you
Yeah.
then look at it and go, don't be telling me about Donnie Yen. Don't be telling me about Donnie. Listen, I know about that. You're ruining this. You're ruining this because you're actually making it rubbish by going around and going, Donnie Yen me, Donnie Yen me. It kind of actually taints it a little bit for you. You go, no. Listen, I'm into this. I like this. You're making it just run of the
Yeah.
mill, So yeah,
You are riding on the bandwagon. I think
that's it.
that's the word. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. So I hate bandwagons. I like to
I
look at
don't like it.
something
Yeah,
when yeah, I like to look at something where I don't know, it's just me. Like when everyone is playing that game, I'm like, I'm not gonna play it. I think growing up, I've always had this. Like there was one year where like Pokemon Go was a very famous game and everyone was playing it. I was like, I don't want to play it. So why would I want to play something when everyone is playing it? Like
yeah.
to me, I feel that if something or someone is great, it will live through the times. Like that's how I feel. Like
It's
you don't have to like, oh, let's all jump on that and then disappear after the trend is gone. I think I hate trend stuff. Like
Yeah, so
that's
do
for me.
I. Because well, I can tell you from my point of view, it feels like they've sort of experimentally got into my psyche, my wavelength, and won. And I go, no. I'm not. I don't need to do this. They think we've got it here. Pokemon Go, good example. We've got it here. Everyone's because I love video games as well, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's into this. Got them. And like you say, I'll go. Well, not me, Wayne. I'm my own person. If this is a good game, I'll play it. But I ain't gonna go out on the street with an iPad or my phone and go out looking for Pokemon unless I want to do it. I ain't gonna do
Yeah.
it because everybody else is doing it. I don't
Yeah.
like trends and stuff
I
either.
mean,
I don't like it.
if
As a
you
matter
think
of
about
fact,
it,
if I was a Pokemon fan, I probably would have hated Pokemon Go for making
yeah,
it even bigger.
if you actually think about it, no one is playing it now.
Right.
But back then when it was out, like you literally like there were news, there were like people like traveling around the world just
News.
to check. I was like, wait, what? Like I'm like, I knew it would die now. Like
Yeah.
there are games that live through, like GTA is one. Like you don't need to have such a thing, and then that there's a fans. That there will always be that fans or people. But I just don't like trends. But anyway, yeah, going back to the martial art part. So I think that's kind of my connection with Donnie and ever since. So he's my messiah.
Yeah.
If I,
Fair enough.
he
Listen,
is
it
my
all makes
messiah.
sense.
If you see my Instagram and stuff, you would know.
I've
Yeah,
seen it. Yeah. And when it's his birthday, you get all excited and say you're my inspiration. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without you. So yeah, listen, I
yep,
get it. Yeah, brilliant. And listen, I've seen inspirations in your films
yeah,
as well. I've seen it. I've seen him on his back butt scooping and you giving him ground and pound. I've seen the bolo punches. I've seen
yeah,
it. So I know
yeah,
I can see the inspiration there. Everything, the little twitches. I've seen
yeah,
stuff SPO. I've seen double knives. Listen, I've seen stuff. I've
yeah,
watched the film, so I know I can really see the influence there. So
yeah.
yeah, brilliant.
And because
So Donnie Yen,
we are both from we are both from the same ancestry in China as
right?
well. That's one.
Okay.
And Donnie Yen's mentor is if you know who Donnie Yen's mentor is, Yuan Wuping, right?
Yes.
Great, brilliant guy. And my mentor, so my mentor is from Hong Kong as well. He's a Hong Kong action choreographer in Singapore since the early 90s. And my mentor and Yuan Wuping has worked together on a lot of occasions in the late 90s in Hong Kong cinema as well. So I think there's a lot of spiritual connection as
Well,
to
okay. Well, what's the name of your mentor? We need to shout him
my
out.
name my mentor is Douglas Kong.
Douglas
Douglas Kong.
Kong.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So he's
Well, if you're watching Douglas Kong, hello, and what brilliant person to be working with, Yun Wo Ping. That would be many
yeah.
people's dreams. So yeah, and now you're
Yeah,
working with Douglas. This is brilliant stuff.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much. I mean, the love for Donnie Yen is we can have one whole entire episode talking about Donnie Yen, but I think long story short, a lot of spiritual connection to him as a person and what he went through as his whole career, I think. Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? That's a good point, because I'm not really done on Donnie, and I'm sure you ain't either, because you love the guy. But maybe you're right. We will save it and we will talk Donnie Yen on his own. But I got there. I still can't finish yet, because I have to tell you about my experience with Donnie Yen, and it was day one. As in, if you like, I got lucky. I used to go to these screenings. So although we didn't have things at the general release at the cinema, we didn't. There would be certain people, companies, fans that would put things on. They would screen things, thinking, "Oh, we'll get people like me, my brother, and other people out to watch these films at the cinema." There was a cinema in London, King's Cross, called the Scala Cinema, and that was very famous for independent films and showing films that are out of the ordinary and not run of the mill, not the standard films. So they would screen. These companies would take it. So Eastern Heroes was one at the time. They would take it and they would screen these films there. And at one of these screenings, a guy called Bay Logan brought some footage of Donnie Yen and played it. And it was footage of Donnie sort of like in front of sort of a Shaolin Temple thing, doing rope dart and wushu type stuff. And then it had clips of Drunken Tai Chi after it. And honestly, the place went nuts, because, it was fresh stuff to watch. So everyone went nuts. We all had whistles back then, so we were all blowing the whistles and going mad and whatever. So I found out about this guy before I know you all find out about this guy before I knew he was, but before even he was something.
Yeah.
I didn't. So basically, the first film I watched of Donnie Yen's was the first film he made, which was Drunken Tai Chi.
Drunken Tai Chi, yeah.
Raw, I was young. Raw means no subtitles. Sorry, that's our slang for having no subtitles. It was in Cantonese, no subtitles. Raw, cinema, no subs. And I'm telling you now, I loved it so much. It didn't matter about the language, whether I could understand it or not. I was a lot younger then, so I didn't really know what was going on. But it was an old traditional kung fu film. It had amazing fights, some of the best sound effects you'll ever hear in a kung fu film. The beefiest, brilliantest, most extreme, massive sound effects you'll ever hear. The stuff of dreams, the stuff I grew up on, the stuff I love. Brilliant film. Loved it. I loved all of it. I loved the music. I loved these muscles. I loved everything. Brilliant film. You like that one as well?
Yeah. But that didn't really do well compared to at that point in time. I mean, if we're comparable to the movies of that era, I mean, the 80s was dominated by Jackie Chan and stuff. So when Drunken Tai Chi came out, I think it came out at the wrong time. So yeah, but I think different era now, different consumer needs are all different right now. So I think
well, they are, but my needs are the same, which is why when I see the newer stuff, the connection you were talking about, I don't have the same connection to it. When Drunken Tai Chi came out, it was of the same ilk. It's Yuen Woo Ping, right? So we're talking about Snake and Eagle Shadow, Drunken Master. We're talking about this same guy. So we have this essence in there, and you feel it, but it was sort of fresh. He brought something the same way it was fresh when he did Snake and Drunken, right? That was also like, what's going on here? But this was another one that came later on that I went, blimey, this is fantastic. A proper old school traditional film. I mean, I loved it. So to me, that's why when things come, it depends on your introduction, right? That's why when things come after, you start to see it change, and it's not always for the better. But for me, that was it. Everything, the music, the opening, it had the red background. Oh, I love it. It's so good. The puppet fighting, it's just the best. It's the best. The baddie, you remember him making the rocking horse with his bare hands?
We don't do such movies nowadays, I guess, which is a sad part.
Yeah, no, don't do those movies these days. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do. I mean, that's a whole entire topic altogether. But yeah, I think I don't know about other people, but myself wanting to make all these action movies and films, it's because all these essence is still and it will still always be in me, no matter what. Yeah, we are from different time, but like for me, like the flashpoint and stuff will always be in me. like wherever I go, like for the next 40 years of my choreography career, like that will be like a case study that I will always be like, how can I do up one level higher, or can I even do that level that he's trying to do? So I think
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you. Yeah.
I know, I understand that, and that makes sense because, like I say, that's the thing that got you. For me, I was a kid, so it was animal styles and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I got lucky. In my opinion, it's not lucky. I can't help when I was born, right? But I got lucky as in when Jackie Chan was still young and at his peak, and he
Yeah.
was changing the game and going, I'm going to go and make a cop police film.
Yeah.
I didn't then go, well, hang on a minute, I want Snake Fist. Hang on a minute, I just had Young Master. Wait a minute, why have I got him in with a gun and all that? No. When he made that, I looked at that and went, well, hang on a minute, this is the man. You know what I mean? Even modern day, look at this. So
Yeah.
I got it, to me, I got the full, rich
Yeah.
history of it all, especially of that guy, him, Sammo Hung, that era. I got it all fed to me. I was so lucky as well that in England we got these films for whatever
Right.
reason. It was brilliant that we got these films. Then you had to seek out more. So they were often very, very badly edited here. They were cut by the BBFC, the film classification. They cut our films very, very badly. Right from, it started with Bruce Lee and Nunchucks. They were never in it, but all the films pretty much were cut. But then it became exciting to try and seek out versions that had extra scenes, things that you hadn't seen before. You think you've seen the film, brilliant, and then you get to see the Cantonese Hong Kong cut of Police Story and go, the ending's different. After he punches him in the trolley, he goes outside. And I know it's just a film. You don't think like that when you're watching it back then. It's magical. I don't, for whatever reason. And I know the magical feeling because it was so magical for you that watching it became not enough anymore for you. You had to perform it. It's not enough, Same as someone listen to music, they go, I love this. They end up liking it so much, they go, it's not enough to listen anymore. I must pick up a guitar or get on a drum kit or whatever. They must now express. And I'm guessing that's what you felt. You went, no, it's not enough. I can't just watch. I must do something about it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Now, I think, Jonathan,
Yeah.
given that we've got to the point of the feeling of magic, the fact that you can't just watch anymore, and that's what forced you to go and make films, I think it's a good point to leave it on that rather than get into all your films now, because you've made a lot of films and there's a lot to get into about all these films. And I've got a lot of questions about all these films and how you make them and the shooting locations and the actors that you use. Everything. I want to know everything about it. But that deserves its own thing. And I think this was, if you agree, I think that was a good introduction to you, why you like the films, why you are in making films. We've gone into your background about Singapore and everything. So I think this is a good time to end it. And then we can start another one if you're willing to come back on and talk more, of course.
Sure, definitely. That will be a
Brilliant.
separate episode. Hopefully,
course,
maybe if you can get you up in the morning again, but we shall see. We shall see.
Of course, yeah, no worries. Listen, I've done it now. Listen, I'm used to it already. Yeah.
All right.
I'm now acclimatized. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for doing it. Thank you very much for coming on. I definitely will see you very, very soon. I know you have a new film coming out, which you directed the new one, right?
Yeah,
exactly, right. So we can talk about that. Road Cop, correct?
yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so we have that coming out soon. So we've got to get you back on quick to talk about that before it releases as well. So yeah. Plenty more to discuss, but what an insight into you, partially your career, or at least why you even have a career in filmmaking. And I've loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to speak to you again.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
It's lovely to meet you.
Likewise, to all those who are watching this as well. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I never think about that because I make this for us. But yeah, if there's anyone watching, appreciate that. Thanks very much, and thank you again, Jonathan.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
See you.
Bye bye.